A very good morning to everyone. Okay, my name is Joanne. I'm actually, let me adjust the mic. Hello, everybody can hear me? Great. All right, a very warm welcome to everyone. My name is Joanne. I'm actually a regional marketing manager for Promet for Asia region. Oops. All right. Thank you for making time today to attend for today's talk, pacifier protection consideration for EV building parking facilities, which I believe has become one of the hot discussion topic, whether you are driving an EV car or whether you as an architect, you're designing building, including the EV charging facilities. So before I'm actually introduce my Promet teammate, who is here today, and passing it to the speaker of today, so I would like to share about ETEX Group. And also, I think a lot of people confused, like, previously we known as Promet Malaysia and now ETEX, all right? Previously, we are known as Promet Malaysia, but we decided to change the name to ETEX Malaysia since 2020 because of the group direction as well. As you can see, ETEX Group, we're actually hosting almost 11 brands. It's actually a global company from Belgium, and we actually almost have 11 brands internationally, covering for fiber cement, pacifier protections, insulations, and also plasterboard. And Promet actually falls under one of the brand as well, which for pacifier protections. All right, you can see over here 11 brands we are covering for all the lightweight solutions that we are offering internationally, including modular constructions, building board, fiber cement, plasterboard, cladding, facade, terrace, pacifier protection, and insulation as well. And all these solutions we are covering for buildings, exteriors, industry, and also insulation and ETEX New Way, which is actually under modular construction as well. All right. As you can see here, we are the global company from Belgium. We have almost more than 120 years, and it's actually have present in most of the continent. And for here, I'll drill down to ETEX Malaysia. We have a presence here since more than 25 years, and we also have a fire test lab as well. So here we actually have hosting the marketing, the technical team, the commercial team, and also the rest of the functional team as well. All right, over here I would like to introduce our team. These are the full teammates that we have from technical team, marketing, and also commercial. Over here we have our main speaker, who is also our regional technical manager for Asia, Promet Asia, John Cha. All right. We also have the regional commercial team over here. Sean is covering for Asia. And also Adib is a technical engineer. And also my team, myself here, I'm a regional marketing covering for Asia. And my name is Joanne. And also I have a teammate, Kakin and Boon is here supporting the events today as well. All right. Thank you for your time. So I think without further ado, I'll pass on to the speaker. But before I'm actually passing on to the speaker, so we do actually have a booth outside. So there is a Promet Academy, then also the LinkedIn that you can follow us to know more about Promet. So we also have a progress of, webinar, lunch and learn, and also observe fire test, which allows you guys to learn more about us. Please, scan through, then we can follow up with you all thoroughly. All right, thank you so much for your attention. Without further ado, I'll pass on to John for the session for today. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, it's pretty interesting topic that I will talk about today. I think EVs, cars, I think has been pretty popular lately. I think most of you having in your mind that you wanted to buy something want to buy these EV cars, or I think some of you already have it. You drive over here today, right? So I think this is pretty new for me actually, right? So let me introduce a little bit of myself, okay? I've been a fire protection experts, or maybe you can term it as a specialist for the last 20 years. So we are almost in my daily life, I play with a lot of fires actually. So the company actually hire me to play with fire, burn something, make sure that that something don't burn and resist the fire rating as what you all require in your regulations, basically, right? So I've been doing this again and again for many, many years, right? So fortunately, I'm a Malaysian, basically. So I think this is a very, very unique role. I think not many companies do that, actually. We have a first-hand, I'm the one behind the scene who actually burn and burn and burn and prove that the systems really can withstand the fire, right? So as example, like if there's an event of fire, right? So basically, all of us will find the escape passage and get out of the building safely, right? So, but have you ever think of like, how can you get out of the building safely if let's say there's a fire at the next compartment areas, right? So basically all those are being protected by fire-resistant walls, ceilings, or those passive fire protection, actually. You couldn't see it, actually. It's just like a normal wall, normal ceiling, but it resists the fire for some time there, right? So basically, when this EV cars topic come in, right, actually, then it raised a concern to us now, right? So because as a fire protection specialist, we tends to, first thing, we need to study the fire source itself. What is the fire source actually? How the fire actually started, right? I have to restart again from the fresh, right? It's just not like a normal building materials that burn and burn and burn, right? So basically, these are the topics that I will go through today, basically. So first thing, we need to identify, right? So look at the EV cars, right? Besides, of course, now EV cars, when they sell it to you, oh, it's very nice, right? It's just like all the technology, all the gadget, everything. So, but of course, as a consumer, all right, we wouldn't like think about, hey, is this car going to get fire or not? Something like that, right? So, and mostly, if you look at the media nowadays, right, they will, if there's a fire, EV car fires, they will straight away zoom in and cover it and say that, oh, this EV car's on fire, right? So, but if let's say if you are driving a ICE, internal combustion car, vehicles, caught on fire, I think nobody cares, basically. It's like pretty normal, this ICE car on fire, right? Okay. So basically, the first part of my talk today here is actually talking about the EV cars. Let us understand why it actually caught fire, right? Where is the source coming from? And how to put out the fire itself. And second chapter of my talk here will be about the strategy used when we build a building now, especially on the underground car parks. What we're going to do about it as a passive fire protection specialist here, what you're going to put in, right? Is it related, or can it help, or will it not help at all, right? Something like that, right? So there's two parts of it, okay? Okay, that's me. Okay, basically, I think, as I said, a lot of people now, like yes, no, yes, no. Even myself, I'm thinking of it, right? I wanted to buy a EV cars, right? Because there's a lot of course, I want to make it clear, my talk today, I'm not an anti-EV cars guy, okay, right? So basically, I pretty supported this EV cars technology. I think first thing, it actually is quite clean, right? It is very clean, right? Don't use any petrol, fuel, or anything like that, right? So then, of course, it actually helps us to save the environment as well for our next generations, to have a cleaner world, right? All these things, right? And of course, the driving experience is very nice, actually. It's very quiet, in fact, right, inside. It's just that even you started the car, you don't even know that you have started the car, right? And it's pretty smooth. Of course, those like to speed, right? The acceleration is excellent because of the efficiency of itself, right? So, anyone already driving a EV cars here? Anyone? No, none. None. Okay, okay. After this, hopefully you all can think about it. Okay. So this topic, when I'm talking about the fires created by the EV cars, okay, don't. It's a different things that we are looking at. Okay, if we are talking about if it caught fire, how we actually catch the fire, right? But most probably it won't happen. Okay. So of course, this is the fact. The statistic already showed that. Right, is very unlikely, right, compared to an ICE car that caught fire here. Okay. Okay, these are the subjects that I'm covering through today. And of course, not forget the third chapter, I'm talking about the smoke. Actually, this should be the chapter 2, because smoke is one of the most critical elements that we are actually looking at, right? Because during a fire, smoke kills more than the fire itself, actually, right? So, and we want to see that this type of EV cars fire, right, it actually generate different kind of smoke, right? Hydrogen fluoride, right, that really kill, right? And a lot of metals, of course, inside that smoke itself, right? So let's quickly go through on the background, okay? I was surprised when I dig through the information. Actually, EVs is nothing new, in fact. It actually started 1832, right? Before that, of course, the transportation is like riding the horse, right, with the carriage behind, something like that, right? So when they the transition time during that stage, right, they created a electrical vehicle, right? It's not the petrol-driven first, actually, right? That was like centuries ago, right? So when you look at it, actually, 1832 already, they are talking about electrical-driven transportation. Then where is this electrical come from, actually? So then I dig further, actually, the batteries invented by this Alessandro Volta at 1800, actually. So they already have this battery thing, but of course not like today what we have the batteries, right? So basically the principle behind of creating batteries is like two metals that's in contact by some electrolytes, some electrons, ions moving around that created the electricity here, right? So at that stage, when they have these EVs, right, so they go on and on for the centuries until 1900s, when Ford came out with the petrol ICE combustion car, the internal combustion engines, right? As what I studied, I think, during my degree days, we have a topic just to study the internal combustion engines. It's really a very complicated cycle, right? And the ultimate aim is to get the efficiency to transmit from, to change the petrol to the energy and to drive the terrain, the car itself, right? So those are the challenges. Until today, the car manufacturers, I think their biggest challenge is still on the efficiency. But now, the EVs actually take over all these things. They solve all these problems, right? So during that stage, when Henry Ford came out with the cars, all right, so the petrol-driven cars, nobody actually really like it. Actually, it's dirty or something like that. Everybody was like reluctant to change over, right? So, but of course, during the World War, at that stage, if you look at a century ago, right, it's like if you travel one place to another place, right, it's very short distance. You don't like go interstate or very far away. All those cities are just within 5, 10 kilometers or 15 kilometers, right? So the electric-driven car is the best one to use it. No problem with that, right? So, but of course, after the World War, right, there's a massive developments. During the World War time, most of the people are being chased to outskirts, go back to their village, far away, right? Those change the pattern, the driving patterns of all these people, actually. So right after the World War, then people travel further apart. And during that stage, look at the EVs that time. The technology is not there, basically. If you want to go very far away, you can't do that, right? So that's why during the 1900s, in the midst of 1900s, Henry Ford really sell very well on his petrol car. At that time, the petrol is also cheap. The gas there is cheap, right? So everybody go after that. So, and then the trend of the EV die off until lately, right? Lately, the 2020, 2015 onwards, right? So, of course, some American EV manufacturers, they are really smart. They come up with the technology, then followed by the Chinese players and come out. So if you look at all these, right? So the renewed interest here actually, right? So of course, come back to present now, right? So there's a lot of incentive given, especially like locally here now, the government, right? We have a target to achieve, right? We want to be green, right? So this is one of the agenda behind, right? So that's why if you see now lately, I think every month there's some new launches of new models EV cars to us, right? So it's very, very interesting. So, but of course the batteries, the technology has changed, right? With the support of all those microcomputer chips, right? Supercomputers, I would say, right? So those actually assist further on the safety of the battery itself, right? So, and then, of course, all this actually benefited us. As just now I mentioned, it's a low noise, don't emit pollutants, low maintenance, not pretty sure yet, right? So, better performance, that's definitely. And of course, cost saving. I'm not sure how they derive this cost saving because it depends how you look at it. The other day I was talking to my friend who was driving a EV cars. He said, oh, I don't need to pump petrol nowadays, but my home electric bill surge out. Right, because you have to charge every time, you have to plug in and charge, right? So, but this can be easily solved with another technology, the PV panels, the solar panels installed at a house that will solve this problem, I think, right? Okay, so what about the statistics show, right, on fires, EV cars on fires? This is pretty clear. If you Google, regardless of which statistics, right, it actually shows that the hybrid cars actually have the most cases, right? Followed by the internal combustion engine cars, right? And the lastly is the electrical EV cars, right? So how true is this actually? But if you really study in depth about the statistics, right? I believe most of you also do statistics or learn during your university days, right? So it depends what sort of factors, what sort of criteria when you do a statistic, right? So, but if let's say, as I said, EV cars are pretty new, right? It's only like a decade, 10 years ago, they come out with EV cars, right? So the cars are pretty new, actually, right? So the data, I don't know. maybe need to be verified further, right? So after some years, maybe 20 years later, right, the batteries may degrade, right? Then it may cause more fires, right? So all this we don't know yet. It's not conclusive, right? All these things, right? And how many EV cars are on the road today, right? Is this statistics shown here actually is from which country, right? Like us, Malaysia, we are just coming up, right? The sales of EV cars are increasing every month, but we are not there yet, right? Maybe just cover about 10% of the market, right? So what about if, let's say, next 5 years later, about 80%, all of us, the next 5 years when I give a talk, who drive a EV cars? Oh, everybody raise their hand, right? So that's a different, right? Then you'll give a different statistic later on. So all these things. So, but anyway, statistic just tells you some figures, all right? We are human, okay? So basically, just imagine, doesn't matter, 10 cars, 100 cars, 100,000 cars on fire. It just takes you one car on fires. And you imagine today the subject I'm talking about is like putting the EV charging base in underground car parks. If just one car that ignited, what will actually happen, right? It will be catastrophic, right? It might turn into inferno, I don't know, right? Maybe nobody know, actually I don't know, all right, even, right? So it's not about the likelihood of an EV car catching fire. It's about consequences of the fire it actually created, right? The consequences, the highly consequences, right? The danger of it, right? So, of course, the concern regarding the EV cars. So, of course, the topic is still like, oh, no problem. Chances of normal cars catching fire is higher than EV cars, right? So why worry, right? So, but it's not about it. It's about the severity, right? The consequences of it. So, oh, sorry. Oh. Okay, let's don't look at the slide. Okay, I just overpress it. Okay. Okay, so basically, the overall severity in an underground car park is an enclosed space. For us as a fire specialist, fire protection specialist, when it comes to enclosed space, it will build up a lot of heat inside there, right? So when something burns, it's worse, actually, right? So when I give you an example, when we do a lot of fire testing, right? So basically, when we look at the fire, do the fire testing, we actually, there's a furnace, we look at the pressure, there's a pressure build up. You take into the consideration, right? So those are some tests that we can actually do. But in reality, we actually look at the pressure itself. If, let's say, example, in a room, there's a fire, enclosed, right? Depends how big it is. That's why it determines the compartmentation size, right? In your UBBL, actually, all this, the theory behind, right? So when it build up, certain stage, you actually the fire will turn into flash over pretty quickly. And if, let's say, if you guys watch some movies, right? Those firefighters go in, then they open the door, then they explode, right? All this is because the fire in the compartment itself, they are basically hungry of air, right? So basically, if you look at in an enclosed car park, basement car park, for us, some of the buildings, we can't even breathe properly, right? Even not even with the fire happens. It's just a normal, when you park your car, sometimes you come down, hey, why, like, cannot breathe, right? So those type of things, right? So it's a confined space, right? So this, other than that, normal car fires has been many years. We know how our abang bomba know how to put out the fire, no problem. We study, it's just from the field, everything. But now, these EV cars, when there's a fire, right, it creates a different scenario, actually, right? So we have to put in more effort to actually put out the fire itself, right? So let's go into some fire scenario. For the last 2 years, I see there's a fire, of course, in, I think, 2024 January. So this somewhere in Johor Bahru, the Mercedes-Benz caught on fire. Oh, the media quickly go and cover and say, oh, this EV cars caught fire, right? It happens then. I don't know what's the investigation. Nobody actually tell what actually happened, right? What actually ignited the fire itself, right? So another incident is nearby my house, right? Is in Puchong. There's a car parked outside. Suddenly, EV cars got fired, right? So, but based on the fire, I saw the pictures, or I think maybe it's not of the batteries. Maybe it's arson, or I don't know. Somebody look at this car so nice. I don't like it. Put some fire on it, right? Maybe, I don't know, right? Because when I look at, later on I'll show you how EV cars battery on fire actually. There's a pattern, right, on it. Okay, there internationally, we can see this happen in Liverpool, right? But this is not so related to EV cars, but I'm just trying to show this picture is something like when a car caught on fire, it will be catastrophic, basically, right? So in this incident, about 1,200 cars that are destroyed, right? So basically, when they investigate, UK are very good at this. Basically, if there's a fire, right, they will really come up with a thick investigation reports, right, what actually happened. So they find that, of course, a lot of fire protection measures are not in place. The active system are not properly in place. The passive fire protection is not in place, all these sort of things, right? So, of course, if you look carefully, there are some media talking about EV cars, you know, because of this. Oh, the fire is EV cars, but hello, look at the year 2017. UK, how many EV cars are there? No, right? Don't have, right? So the facts need to be right, right? So this is even current. It's about 2020 in Norway, right? Norway used to be one of the countries that have a lot of EV cars already. Norway, the Scandinavian countries, Sweden, all those, they have a lot of EV cars, right? So coincidentally, there's a fire happened in this. Inside, there's entrapped moisture, right? Of course, now if I use a fist and punch the concrete, I think I break my hand first, right? Not the concrete will crack or whatever. But during high heat, this moisture will find its way out to evaporate, right? And will cause the concrete to crack, and that's this word, spore, right? So this is, especially in tunnel fire protection, we look seriously into this. Basically, once the concrete spore, your reinforcement steel bar will be exposed, right? So when it exposed, you'll lose its strength, actually. So which I will cover later on with the second chapter on how we actually protect the structural, right? Okay, quickly, of course, it will cause a lot of losses if there's a fire in your underground car parks to the building owner themselves, right? We're not going to cover this because I'm not a commercial guy, right? So let's look into this EV cars. Pretty interesting, actually, right? When you look at it, it's pretty straightforward. No wonder everybody is coming out. Car manufacturer want to go into these EV cars, right? So you have just a motor, right? Electric traction motor, right? To drive the wheel. On top of that, you have the batteries, the main batteries, and you also have the other auxiliary batteries, those that we have also in ICE cars, right? So then, when we zoom in, right, so nothing else. Then, of course, the suspension system, everything more or less is the same, right? Right. So they don't have to deal with the engine, right? The big, complicated engine, as I said, right? So let's put it a very layman term. The motor, right? The traction motor is something like the fan, right? Your normal fan, right? There's a motor behind to drive the fan, right? But this is a larger capacity, need a larger voltage to drive it, right? That's all, nothing much, right? So that's why when we come back to the maintenance part, I don't know how you're going to fix it. If your fan broke down, right, can you actually fix the motor? I don't know, right? But you need to throw away your fan, right? Right. So maybe you have to throw away the whole motor, maybe, right? Nobody knows, right? So that's not our concern, okay? So our concern, we try to find where is the fire source coming from, okay? So we try to understand the batteries, all right? So we look into the batteries. So there's thousands of cells. So I found out it's like EV cars have almost 6,000 to 7,000 of this lithium-ion battery cell put together. All right, very interesting. This is really interesting. So this is something when I look at it, hey, this is something like those, you know, those robot vacuum you have runs with lithium-ion batteries, right? So if you operate it, you take out the module, the battery pack. Inside is all these small little batteries, right? 18,650 milliampere hour. Small little battery, they combine it together, put it in a pack, protect with some steel, and encapsulate it with steel protection, and there it goes, right? The batteries, right? So nothing really great, right? So it's just that the technology, of course, they have a lot of microprocessor to sensors to track whether is it overheat or not, all these things. So it makes it pretty reliable and pretty safe, right? So the issue of course, they will just brush away. Oh, no way, you kept. So if you look into the theory of the battery, so as I said earlier, it's just there's a cathode and anode, right? Lithium ion, how it actually works, right? So there's an electrolyte as a medium, right, in between. So basically, if you charge it, charge your EV cars, the batteries, they'll actually, the lithium ion will generate, move around in the electrode, go into the ion, right? Go into the anode side and store it. So that's why the battery, the capacity, right? So that's why a lot of car manufacturing, they keep on compete. Oh, I can run 400 kilometers, I can run 500 kilometers. All those are back to this battery capacity, right? So basically, the movement of the ion generated here, actually, they create the energy, right? Actually, so and being stored, right? So after that, when you start moving your car, then they start to like discharge all this, right, onto it. So then now we zoom in further. What actually caused the fire then, right? The metal plate, the cathode and anode? No, it's metal, non-combustible, right? The membrane itself, right? The membrane, no, that is non-combustible too, but it's the electrolyte, right? The fluid inside it, actually, right? So we zoom in further, we can see here, right? So basically, it's just a simple graphical about the batteries, how it generate, and thus this electrolyte actually is the combustible fluid, actually, right? So, but how it actually ignite now? It's already inside there, no problem, right? Okay, so back to the basic principle, right? Is the battery cell itself is like a pressure vessel, right? So if there's a liquid inside, if it is heated up, it will vaporize, right? When it vaporize, it creates some pressure to your battery walls, right? Until a certain extent, it expand and crack, and that's where it leak out, right? So if there's an incident, if let's say you crash your EV cars, right, and unfortunately it hit the battery pack underneath, it caused the casing to crack, and it will ignite, all right? So then, of course, that is not the case. If you park your car underneath ground car park charging, you will not cause the cracking issues, right? So, but Why then? How it actually suddenly bursts into flame, right? So overcharging, right? Overcharging is something that the charger manufacturers need to look into it, right? So, but of course, I look at it, the technology today, no problem at all, right? Especially like even our phone, during the early days, a lot of this explosion overcharging, but now today no problem already. We'll just cut off, it won't charge anymore if it's heated up, right? So, but in an event, something goes wrong with the technology, this will actually happen, right? So, back to the electrolyte, when it evaporates, right, it vaporizes, right? So these fumes actually coming out, how you call it, the geyseran or something, the friction, yeah, with the wall may cause ignition, right? Even that doesn't happen if your surrounding is also very hot. And I found out that the auto ignition temperature of this electrolyte is only about 400 plus degrees C. So with this type of perfect condition, will actually ignite and explode, right? Okay. So back to this, the comparison between the batteries and the internal combustion engine cars fire, right? So the first one, as I said, right? So expand, release the gas and explode, right? So, and not to forget, also I found out is like when they put out a EV cars fire, right? A normal ICE car only require about 4,000 liters of water to put out. And I was shocked when I looked at the report saying that it's about 100,000 liters of water need to put out one EV car's fire, right? So it's tremendous and it's really bad for the environment as well, right? So of course it burned hours and hours, right? And not to forget, after our Abang Bomba put out the fire, when the tow truck come and tow the vehicle back to some place, it can have the chances of reignite again. Because the build-up of the heat inside each battery cell, they have a thermal runaway, right? So it's not visible from our eyes, right? So once they reach certain temperature, they ignite again, right? And they keep on continue, right? Okay, so of course the most important for us is definitely the fumes that actually come out from the batteries, right? So this is like hydrogen fluoride and a lot of metals like cobalt, manganese, all those metal fumes that, like my colleague, they do welding, every day do welding, those fumes that coming out from this vehicle as well during fire time. So it's really dangerous for the health itself, right? Okay, so these are some of the methods I see, in case of a fire, right? So they no longer just try to suppress, extinguish the fire blindly, just shoot the water or whatever. So they have to do it from underneath, right? Either you have to jack up the car and put out the fire. Of course, some other countries, they have this special device, a targeted sprinkle, something like that, highly pressurized, and push it into it and focus on the fire area, right? So this is some of the way. They don't have to jack, so they put the brick wall to jack it up. And also notice that in Korea, they have all these measure. I think the other picture you see, the blanket one is in our guide, our bomba guide, right? So you need this blanket, right, to cover it up, right? So the other one, the weird way is actually they build a barrier, right? And then they pump water and soak the whole thing up underneath, right? To cool down the batteries, right? And to put off the fire as well. So those are some of the proposal, and I think it's still ongoing, right? They're still trying to find the best way, right? So, but all this method, think about it, if these are more like practically is like outdoor, if the EV charging is in outdoor, right? So, but what about underground? What are you going to do about it? Are you going to have such a high technology stuff of thing like the barrier, the Korean did, right? Do you have the space? I don't know, right? Those are for you guys to consider. All right, so let's remind a little bit. Just one car in fire in a confined space, the amount of black smoke, hot smoke developed is tremendous, right? So don't play with fire actually, right? So it's really terrible. I myself already experienced many times of this type of scenario. I don't know by coincidence or not during my fire testing. I mean, sometimes when you pass through, there's a fire, then you kepo a bit, see, the smoke is like this, actually. All right. So let's move on. Then how? Now we understand the battery, or everybody understand the batteries, how it generate the fires. Now how? What are we going to do about it? All right. What sort of measures we can actually put in place, right? Even though maybe it's not in the guide yet, but for us, we need to be responsible because we are the building designer, we are the fire protection designer here, right? So we need to be responsible, right? So let's chill out a little bit. I think lately, this video has been circulating around, right? Okay, the topic was talking about BMW EV car on fire, right? Somebody killed or whatever, right? So don't trust so much about your friends WhatsApp you, all these things, okay? So, but this picture, I'm trying to show how bad it is. If let's say there's a car on fire, it's nothing to do with EV cars, okay? So I dig back. This is actually from many years back in Russia. Some trucks collided and exploded, right? So this can be this bad, right? So this, but fortunately, of course, we will never allow all these trucks inside our underground car parks, right? Okay. So, but the next, I think, just now I'll talk about the trends, the trends of EV cars on fire. If you look at all this, right, it's all from underneath, right? So it's like a jet fuel, right? The fire coming out, okay? Doesn't matter which car manufacturers, right? It is share the same thing. When we look at it, hey, it's the same, right? Okay? So we can't put out, if you see at the end, the guy also run away. He cannot put out the fire by just a portable extinguisher, right? Okay, so I believe most of you already know there's this guy, all right, Bomba already come out with the guide, right? So if you want to design a charging bay, regardless of outdoor or indoor, they will actually teach you how you need to fulfill those criteria here, right? But of course, I'm not going to talk about the overall guide. I will just highlight a few of it, right, here. Okay, so they firstly, definitely they acknowledge, right? They acknowledge that the vapor cloud explosion do happen in EV cars, right? So as just now, as we understand the battery, vapor cloud is something that's some leakage from the battery in a confined space. The confined space definition here can be your encapsulated batteries, right? If it leak out from your encapsulated battery pack, maybe you park your car in a garage, then your garage become a confined space, right? So slowly it will build up, right? Build up until extend the pressure with the ignition, you will just explode like this car, right? It don't happen straight away, actually. It will take some time and it just explode. So they acknowledge this incident, right? So kebakaran semasa pengecasan, right? 16% happen, right? So it does happen, right? So electrocution risk because of a high voltage, right? Not forget the batteries generated 400 volts, right? To drive the EV, right? So our normal is about 200 plus, right? The thing, right? So Of course, the smoke, when I talk about the fumes, the gases here, carbon monoxide, hydrogen chloride, fluoride, all those are deadly, I would say, right? No chance for you to survive if you inhale in this, because our studies during the normal fires is talking about carbon monoxide, right? Those can actually just cause you discomfort. Maybe when you escape from the building, it's difficult to find a path, all those stuff of things. So, but hydrogen fluoride, hydrogen chloride, all this is deadly, right? Even if you manage to get out from the building, ambulance send you to the hospital, most probably you're dead, right? Okay, so and hours of fire, right? So those feedback is actually, I mean, all these statistics is just mostly is outside. If the car, EV cars is outside, you have the abang bomba can have his own sweet time to put out the fire. But what if it's underground car parks? Cannot. You don't have a chance at all, right? Right. Especially with all the black smoke everywhere. Okay, so I extract it. One of it is you cannot actually position your charging bay next to your escape passage, right? I also noticed lately when you drive a EV cars, the building owner treat you like a VIP, right? Priority. So they put the charging bay next to the entrance, right, of let's say a shopping mall or anywhere. Right, so it become like, oh, you're so proud of it. I plug in, then like everybody can see you driving the EV car. But these are not a good way, right? So because if there's a fire, then the fire will go inside your pintu kebakaran, everything, right? And your escape passage will act as a chimney, actually. So all the smoke will go up to the building. So have to place far away, right? Okay, so then they also talk about how you need to have a natural ventilation, right? So if your multi-story car park is above the ground, it's not a problem. You have a natural ventilation, so it's not a problem. So, but if you are in underground basement car park, you need to have a mechanical ventilation, right? But they didn't elaborate further, right? But because this is just a guide, right? So, but for us as a fire protection specialist, it's like, I noticed that a lot of ducts, right? Yeah, you have a smoke extraction duct, but the duct is not fire rated, right? So your duct liner is made of just a normal steel duct. You actually collapse during fire time, right? So it will never work, right? So even you say that, oh, no problem, I have a smoke extraction, right? So bear in mind, take note that it need to have a fire rated duct, right, on it. So back to this active and passive, I think most of you definitely know all these things. Active is about how do you slow the fire growth, all right? So, but for us as a passive guy, right, we actually just try to put the fire inside a compartment, right? We don't allow the fire to transmit. So you want to burn your own room. You want to burn on your own premises, right? Don't go and spread to another place, right? So that's our intention, our objective as a passive fire protection guy here, right? Okay, so of course the scope, our objective is the same everywhere, right? Versus active, right? The most important is the building occupants can get out of the building during fire time, and at the same time, let our abang bomba go in and put out the fire safely. And the third, only the building, right? So human life is the most important, right here. But of course, when I presented to some countries, everybody laughed at me. Human life, I got a lot, right? So building is number one. The cost is number one, right? So I don't want to say which country. I think some of you know which country. They say I got a lot people, no problem, right? Right. So, but regardless of which country, but our objective is to save life, right? So, as I said, structural. Just now I think I'm running out of time, but I quickly go through. Structural, basically, if you don't protect it, you'll lose its strength at 550 degrees C. Like a lot of people actually throughout my years, they come to me, steel is very strong, man, no problem. Yeah, I know during normal ambient condition, but when they're exposed to 550 degrees, it loses its mechanical strength, right? And you start to buckle, right? So when you start to buckle, what happened to your building? Collapse, right? So this is the first way of protection we look in a building, right? So structures, of course, especially buildings made of structures, still need to be protected, right? Not just simply put some concrete, hide it, that's it. No, you need to protect the steel, right, appropriately, right? Okay, so those are some visual. Again, I'll go run through quickly, right? So these are some smoke that all hot smoke go up, right? So first thing they attack is your ceiling, right? Okay, so those are the reinforcement bar that's being exposed, right? So in this situation, they are lucky it's not collapsed yet, but if the fire is not being put out, the steel will be the next, right, to lose its strength and it will collapse. Okay, so some of the method, you may see it in overseas, the tunnel, they actually protect with a layer of protection boards. Right, so those are the purpose to prevent it from spoiling. All this board can actually withstand high temperature up to 1000+ degrees C. Right, so those are some of the pictures that you have seen. So you can see here, right, one of the picture taken from a fire test, right, the steel column, right, can actually buckle until this manner, right. It's not I purposely go and bend it, it's not. It's a fire with under certain load, right. Okay, so these are some of the solutions that we offer in pacifier protections. So you can encase it with boards. You can do some vermiculite spray, right? And then, of course, if you want to show off your steel structure, right, then we have this intumescent paint as well, right? So all these are definitely available in our website. You can actually go and look for it. Right. Okay, so second strategy that we are looking at is compartmentation, right? So, of course, everyone here definitely know this is a very basic principle of fire protection, compartmentation here, right? So it's actually to limit the spread of the fire from one compartment to another compartment, right? So then we also restrict the movement of the smoke and optimize the evacuation routes during fire time, right? So with a certain size, of course, permitted, which we refer to the UBBL here, right? Okay, so you can see here is a lot of like very normal circumstances. You can see your car park. Then nowadays, like these car parks, they have this glaze, right? If the glazing is non-fire rated, then they need to install some roller shutter, fire rated roller shutter. If during a fire time, the roller shutter will come down and close it. Otherwise, if you have a small opening to your car park, you need to have a fire door, right, to protect it and to compartmentalize it, actually, right? So this is some of the pictures that shows that it really works, actually. So your fire doors, you separate fire area and non-fire area. Okay, so classified as a compartmentation solutions, we can look into wall, right? So, but of course, it's not just a wet construction, right? So, and today, the current research, current testing we have been doing again and again already show a dry construction can actually resist the fire up to 4 hours, right, of a dry wall construction. So, but I still see a lot of wet construction around, brick walls, the thick, heavy brick walls around, right? So, but of course, please check when you do some submission to BOMBA, check your local BOMBA, whether they can accept. Some can accept, some cannot accept, I don't know, right? So please go and check with the local BOMBA, right? So fire rated ceilings is also part of the compartmentation. So you have a suspended ceiling, you have a ceiling without the suspension, right? So those are having a limited span area that you can do it, right? So not to forget, very importantly, just now when I mentioned roller shutters, take extra care, right? Especially car parks, I noticed there's a lot like, okay, I have a glazing, okay, non-fire rated glazing, then I put a roller shutter, a fire rated roller shutter, solve the problem, right? So, but there's a gap above the roller shutter, how you treat it. So detailing is very important. You need to seal off that particular gap, right? Right. So with all these cavity barriers systems, right? Otherwise, it's no point having a fire-rated roller shutter, but the fire can actually go from the gap above it, right? All those detailing maybe is not so important previously. Maybe a lot of people overlook, right? So, but of course, when you now put a lot of EV cars underground car parks, now all this detailing is extremely important now, right? So, of course, small little things, like I believe my colleagues also display a lot of samples outside here, or fire stopping, right? Even just, I straight away notice here, right? Luckily there's a fire stopping, right? By somebody, right? So I've been to many sites. They just patch it off with a normal cement, all right? So those cement will just spoil during fire time, right? And just collapse. And especially when you have a UPVC pipes, plastic pipes, all these are melt. They will melt, right? They will create a hole, right? So the fire can actually go through this particular hole and breach your compartmentation, right? So no point spending so much money. Sometimes I tell my client, right? But all these small little things are not done properly, right? So what's the point? Just to fulfill the documentation, right? But when I walk around everywhere, I see it's not being done correctly. Okay, so of course there's a lot of solutions how you're going to do it with the appropriate materials down here, right? So here there's a study actually show if you have a room of 6 meter by 6 meter, right? There's a fire on that particular room and you have just a small little hole, right? How long do you think that your next room will cover with full of black smoke? An hour. Anyone? Want to give it a try? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour? Okay, okay, I'll open the question. So it's 3 minutes and 20 seconds, right? So if that is how fast the smoke move, actually, right? Right. Actually, I wanted to show that's another slide. It's very funny. It's just like a person running away, then the smoke is chasing him, something like that. Those to show how fast the smoke. But those are some cartoons, so I don't show that. Right. So, but this is a study they actually found out. Right. So it's very important to seal off whatever openings, especially EV cars now with the charging bay. Of course, the cables will penetrate somehow, somewhere your compartment. Those need to be looked after, right? So, unfortunately, I also saw a lot in some established building without properly fire stop, right? So there's a gap. If there's a fire, the fire will just go up, right? So these are some of the situation here. Basically, of course, the cable going through, then you need to get a proper products or systems to close this penetration here, right? So no point just talking about just the charger, how well it is, right? So, but when they penetrate through, those are the weak points, okay? So these are some of the samples. You can easily find it in our website, all right? How you actually solve the situation here. Okay, so the last chapter I want to go through is the smoke management here. Right, so as I said, the smoke actually kills, right, not the fire, right? So we need to look at it. I think the topic of discussion in Malaysia is always, is it a insulated duct or non-insulated fire-rated duct here, right? So the concept behind is actually very straightforward, right? If you have a single compartmentation, just one small little compartment, there's some duct going through. The duct is to extract, if there's a fire in that room, you want to extract the smoke out of the building, straight away, one compartment is you can get away with non-insulated duct, right? So, but if your fire-rated duct passes through, like example, like shopping malls, passes through numerous compartments, right? The first one, when it started the duct, you can get away. But the rest of it, passing through different compartments, it need to be insulated, right? You cannot have non-insulated duct on that, right? So there's a lot of graphicals here going to pass through. So of course, there's a new challenge for the smoke extraction in car parks, underground car parks, all right, because of the toxic fumes that they're creating here, right? So some of the compartmentations here, one of the graphical representative here, you can see here, right? So it passes through many compartments here, right? So it need to be actually insulated. So the reason behind, of course, is, as I say, back to our objective, is to protect people during fire time. So if, let's say, your duct is extracting hot smoke out of the building, right, passing through various compartments, coincidentally, you are running for your life, right? So if it is a non-insulated duct, it is very hot, even though you won't see the fire. You create an atmosphere, I think, easily more than 100 plus degrees C or 200 degrees C on the environment, the compartment itself. So do you think you can run during this type of temperature? You can't, right? So it's very dangerous, right? Okay, so of course, I would like to invite all of you, if you have a chance, come to our local fire lab. You can experience it yourself, right? Normally, if we do some uninsulated fire-rated system, right, we as a test engineer, we will walk very far away, right? During the test, we don't get close to it because it's very hot, right? Because the temperature inside is 1,000 degrees. The temperature transmitted out of the fire site is about more than 800 degrees C because it's uninsulated, right? So of course the heat will dissipate after that, right? Okay, so I quickly go through. I think these are just to show you a multiple or single compartmentation, right? You can see here, right? So passing through the escape passage, you need to be having an insulated duct. I think we have a sample how you actually install a insulated duct system, right? So, but of course, in Malaysia, I think a lot of uninsulated duct going around, right? So, but as a system owner, when we apply for bomba cert, the bomba actually straight away said, if you have an insulated duct system, I'm not going to give you a bomba approval, right? So, but I said, then how? My clients still ask me they want an insulated duct system to put in place. Okay, we almost comes to the end already here, right? So there's another way to show if you have a non-fire-rated duct in your car parks, right? What will actually happen? So when the car start on fire, right, you actually start burning, then your so-called fire-rated duct, non-fire-rated duct will collapse, and you don't do the work to extract the hot smoke out of the building, right? So basically, it will just spread everywhere, right? So it's our responsibility to actually put in the correct system in place, right, to ensure that the fire or smoke don't spread around, right? So those are some of the solutions you can see in the market. What is a fire-rated duct, right? So it can be made of boards, cladding, right? Normally with the boards, there is a layer of rock wool or mineral wool insulation, stone wool insulation, right, in it. If you see there's no stone wool, normally it does not give you any insulation, right? So like we have another type in the market is without the steel liner, means the board itself made the duct of itself, right? So it also gives you a full insulation duct, but of course the board is thicker, right? So of course in the market you can see a lot of coated duct system in place. So the next time, tomorrow Sunday, go to a shopping mall, look at up there with some paint, most probably is without insulation, right? So if you need insulation, because the paint is not a magic paint, right? It can actually resist fire, but it cannot resist insulation, okay? You need to put a layer of stone wool on it, right? So just go and look around. You can see, are we doing the right thing or not the right thing? Okay, so before I come to a conclusion here, I need everybody's help here, actually, right, in order to improve us further, to understand, because I'm actually in fire protection world, right? So you guys are the designer of the building, right? So somehow, some way, we will collaborate, definitely, right? We can sit down for discussion. So our marketing team here, they actually did 10 questions, very easy to answer. I think it's your daily thing, right? Please do give some feedback. These feedback are very, very valuable for us, right? So this is exceptionally, I think, different from whatever talks you have actually participated, right? So it's like, normally those feedback is like, how good is my presentation? How good is my contents? All this, no need, we don't need that, all right? So if you look at the question, it's really relevant. I need the feedback, all right? So please do scan the QR, give the feedback. I think Joanne will definitely run it through, and some mystery gift, I think, will be given out for those feedbacks, right? So, okay, I will conclude. Everybody scan it, or maybe tea break later, we can, right? As a conclusion, as I said, for my talk today, is definitely, it's not about how many cars on fire, right? Okay, it's only one cars that happen in underground, right, that will actually cause a catastrophic or inferno situation, right? So our abang bomba will have difficult time, right? Definitely when the car is on fire, it's not so much of a problem, but of course his abang bomba have to go and put off the fire, which is a challenge for them, right? So at the time of the talk today, I think it's not conclusive, all these studies, right? So as a specifier, as a designer of a building, there's nothing wrong to over-specify now, especially for underground car parks, whatever protection material you put in, right? Even though there's a guideline there, already out there, but it's not an issue if you over-specify it. Just be careful on, rather than something bad happen later on, right? So of course, I think, did I miss out anything? Nothing, I want to tell everybody. So I think, hopefully, it will actually not happen in any of our journey, our career, right? This fire, right? So I think that comes to the end of my presentation here, right? So let me remind again, I'm not an anti-EV guys, cars EV, okay, right? So don't get me wrong, okay? Thank you very much for today, for your attention. Maybe there's a time for Q&A. Any questions from the floor you want to ask? Oh, okay, thanks.
Let's have another round of applause for our speaker, Mr. John Cha, for the talk. Of course, protecting today, securing tomorrow, passive fire protection consideration for electric vehicles, building parking facilities. Thank you for that very informative talk. And of course, we've ended surprisingly right on time, so we appreciate your punctuality. It was prompt. You know, like, the fire that quickly spreads in 3 minutes, you also finish exactly on time. So that's quite good. So at this stage, in regards to the Q&A, there will be a session at the end of today's program, and we will keep you advised. Now, at this point, I would like to also say, without any more further delay, that we're going to take a 30-minute break. Please be advised that refreshments will be served on level 1 outside the gallery, and of course at level G. Please help yourself, and we would like you to get back to the hall in approximately half an hour. So it'll be kurang between 10:45 and 10:50. Okay? Yes, so I would like to say selamat menjamu selera. It's outside. Please do enjoy, and we'll get some fire songs for you after this. Thank you so much. See you back at the hall in approximately half an hour from now. Upon for your attention. First and foremost, of course, welcome back into the hall. And without further ado, let's welcome our second speaker from PAM, architect ELLINA RAHMAN. Now, before I formally invite her on stage, I'd like to give you a bit of a synopsis as to what the presentation is about, entitled The Fire Safety and Building Codes for Elements of Structure. And basically, today's sharing session will cover and delve into one of the critical aspects of fire safety concepts, passive containment. And we'll be exploring the protection of structural elements based on prevailing building codes and recent updates. This talk, of course, will serve as a refresher session for experienced corporate members and as a learning opportunity for our graduate and student members. I'd like to also give you a little bit of bio before I formally invite architect ELLINA on stage. She is the director of DP Architects and alumnus of University of Newcastle upon Tyne in the United Kingdom. A firm believer in the knowledge was meant to be shared, and her vision and mission is to contribute within the Architecture Society. She finds knowledge during the Part 3 examination, candidates via several platforms, as well as Young Architects class. Now, without further ado, I'd like to call upon the very talented, very lovely architect ELLINA RAHMAN to please come on to the stage and give us her presentation. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you Vishal for the lovely introduction. Okay. Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming in today, your Saturdays. When Pam offered me this talk, I was told that it's only 50 people will attend fire talk. So I was like, oh, okay, 50 people. So then after a few days, I realized that 250 packs has signed up, and I got really panicked. And I have 200 slides for you, only that I won't do it. I have cut down to 60. I promise you I won't bore you. The topic today is quite heavy, but let's start by talking about EV cars. Okay, what John has said earlier, it is true that it is not conclusive yet on how to actually extinguish fire for electric cars. And earlier on, we thought that the charging devices would be the dangerous part. It's actually the car. It's not the charging device as much. So I just like to share my views on EV cars. I would still like a Boxer engine or a V8 car. So if you give me Tesla, and also you give me Maserati Ghibli, I will still choose Maserati Ghibli for the sound. So yeah. Huh? I don't know. And maybe because I have a beef, someone almost ran over me because I couldn't hear the sound of the car. So I was walking and suddenly someone honked me, and I realized there is a car behind me. So that is my beef with EV car. So yeah, sorry whoever has EV cars. So not that I'm not supporting ESG and what, but it's just for now, I will still choose Maserati. Okay. Okay. So the topic today, fire safety, building codes for elements of structure. So again, the focus topic today is passive containment in fire protection strategy. So we will look into compartmentation or passive containment issues as a broad issue, and then we'll go to fire rating to structural elements, and then we go to protection of openings in compartment. So the purpose, it will be for introduction and learning experience for the graduate architects as well as students, because I know about half of you guys here are still graduate architects and also students. And also a refresher on recent updates for corporate members or architects. So I know as well, more than half of you guys are corporate members. So it's just a refresher for you guys. I would like to give some credit to the 20 members of the fire working group. The slides that I will be presenting today, it is not solely done by me. There was a committee members that has been doing the slides for almost 2 years that we will later on make it into the bomber rate book, the revised bomber rate book. So wait for it, but we will give some snippets today. So the items that we will go through today will go from macro to micro, so introduction. We go to fifth schedule, purpose group and limit of compartmentation. Then we go to compartmentation concept, prevailing building codes, and also the recent amendments. I think this one important that everyone needs to know. Party wall versus separation wall versus compartment wall definitions that we need to clarify to everyone today. Ninth schedule, fire resistant for elements of structure. And the last one will be the protection of opening in compartments. So why? The architects and knowledge in fire protection strategy. This is very important. There's a lot of times that I went, I think more than a dozen times that I went, I heard the basic complaint from bomber. First is that we are not your checker. Please, for architects, please check the submission drawing. The first thing that I always heard, right, is the first thing in your kehendak bomber, the declaration, the first ayat there is wrong already. Your TA or your assistant architect did not even get the purpose group correct, which is in reference to schedule 5 or 5th schedule, sorry. So it is actually a really big issue, or only that we take it for granted. So today I would like to take this opportunity to highlight again the importance of it. So again, you'll go back to the 4 pillars of responsibilities of an architect. We have professional, statutory, contractual, and duty of care. And why? And with regards to fire safety, it's all about statutory compliances. So basically, for younger generations, younger architects, no matter how gempak your design is, if it's not compliant, we can't build it. So please do understand. Awan. Okay, it's a bit too serious now. So what we have to do is to ensure safety of occupants in our building as minimally prescribed by the bylaw. So just need to highlight to everyone here. Kenapa ya? Okay, cakap lagi. Okay, next. So just need to, for everyone to understand, the UBBL is a prescriptive building code. So it will provide predetermined prescriptions. So the prescriptions are quite absolute. It will be like no smaller than, no bigger than, no shorter than, no longer than, no less than, no more than. So that kind of prescription that we have in our building code. While the Malaysian standards is a descriptive code of practice. So please understand this. Sometimes you get confused whether it is part of bylaw, part of the law, or it is just a guideline. So MS is actually a guideline, a good practice that we have to follow through. So I think most of you guys should be able to know the 4 concepts of fire protection. So we start with passive containment, evacuation, active intervention, and also firefighting and rescue. So these 4 concepts of fire protection is something that we have to hold on to, in which today we will talk about only the passive containment. Otherwise, 2 days will not be enough. So as shown here, I start with D first. So firefighting and rescue, it is for all building types. So the prescriptions with reference to building height and volume. However, for A, B, and C, it will be reference to purpose group, occupancy, type of building, size of building, height of building, a lot of things to consider. And we have to, you have to conform to UBBL schedule 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And 11, in fact. There is a new schedule 11, if you want to know. Nature of fire, I think this one we have seen before, is the life cycle of fire starting from stage 1, ignition of growth, to development of fire, full fire, and decay. So at one point we have flashover. Oh. Okay. We have this flashover in which there is the steep curve there. And there is also an untenable condition in which we need to get people to be out of the building during this time. So this is in relation to the entire life cycle of a fire. You see, this is a very small period of time to ensure that everyone is safely evacuated. So we need to know this assumption for safe evacuation. Only one fire at one time, only one fire at one location at one time. And for compartmentation, to contain the one fire within the one location at all times. So meaning if there are 2 fires happening at the same time, it is not considered, it is considered as arson. So this is the assumption that we have all agreed in order to do fire safety protection design. Contributing factors to potential fire loads. So all this, I think we all know that fitting furnishings, including the building itself, furniture, equipment, consumables, storage items, so on and so forth. So in our MS 1183 2015, occupancy characteristics have been, is showing the 2 main characteristics will be, the top portion will be familiarity of the space itself, and the other one will be the level of consciousness of the occupants, whether they are awake or asleep. And then we can see the type of building will have a different type of risk, fire risk in it. For example, office space is quite safe, where the occupants are familiar with the space and also awake most of the time. And hospital, inpatient wards, this is a high-risk area where most of them are asleep, plus maybe they are immobile, and also they are unfamiliar with the space. So this actually relates back to travel distances that is allowed or prescribed in our bylaw, which is, you can see, the offices will have longer travel distances, and hospital, high-hazard factory will have shortest distance, as well as the exit capacity will be larger for offices and smaller for the high-hazard areas. So those are the basic concepts in which I have to touch first before we go through the details. 5th schedule, purpose group, and limit of compartmentation. Okay, so these are the recent amendments in Part 7 and Part 8, which is the fire protection strategy, in 2021 amendment. So, I didn't bring the book, sorry. For the younger architects, if you just graduated, you're lucky, you never know the 2002 2012 or 1984 one, so you just refer to the current UBBL. So that's fine. The one that is a bit harder is when you have started working a few years ago and then you need to shift your understanding, so you will need to study a bit more. So there are new clauses. For example, 136A, fire shutters is new. 137 will be some changes, compartment floors. 163, fire doors. 252, atriums. It is not new. It was in the 2012 amendment, but it was not adopted by all states. And for fifth schedule, purpose group, dimensions of buildings and compartments. So in today's topic, basically only these 5 clauses that is related to the changes. Fifth schedule, designation of purpose group. So every building is to have one overall designation. So building with different usage, mixed development, more stringent requirement will be applied. Only horizontal separation is allowed between buildings of different purpose group. This one we'll talk about it later. So the sample of UBBL fifth schedule. So basically, right, for all the junior architects or even graduate architects, please, if you're doing a building, so you have to quote this. Purpose group 1, small residential, 3, other residential. It's not something like kehendak bomba that you mentioned about mixed development. You don't have purpose group mixed development. So what happened if you are doing data center? Who knows? What is your purpose group? Haven't anyone doing data center? So data center, most probably you have to go FSDP, Fire Safety Design Philosophy, in order to confirm what would be the usage of the building. This is what I understand. Because no data center is described in this UBBL fifth schedule. So fifth schedule also touch about dimension of buildings, compartments, single-story building, and also others. So for others, dimension of limitation does not apply to small residential offices and also place of assembly. So these are the recent changes for Amendment 2021. So it's just a small addition to hospital where the limit of dimensions is being revised. So just a small amendment. Other limitations that may affect areas. So if you have sprinkler system, so the limits is double. Floor-to-floor compartmentation, floor and wall compartmentation for flats, basement, areas of different usage, compartmentation of hazardous areas, and places of assembly, we have special provisions in the bylaw. So all this I will show in a diagrammatic manner later so that it won't burden you so much. Okay, so travel distances and occupant loads may affect the volume as well. So we go to slightly deeper in terms of compartmentation concept, prevailing building codes, and recent amendments. So compartmentation-related bylaws will be 135 to 139, and also amendments 2021. So this is the major one. Bylaw 137. So this is the comparison between 1984 and also 2021. So there are certain changes in which 2 clauses have, sub-clauses have been added on, in which I will show in diagrammatic manner. So 1984 compartment floor clause 137. So it says any building exceeds 30 meters in height, any floor which is more than 9 meters above ground, which separates one story from another other than a floor. Okay, never mind. We'll just show this. Too long. Okay, so basically you see this diagram section. So you see the building is less than 30 meters. Less than 30 meters, so 9 meters here is the limit. All buildings above 30 meters, so each floor would be compartment floor. So this is what the 1984 bylaw prescribed. And then 9 meter or below need not be compartmented. So this is bylaw 137. So in a way that they're saying building below 30 meter need not have any compartment floor, in which is slightly debatable. Hence, the revision in 2021, again, I won't read it, so I will show this in a simplified manner. So 2021 revision, clause 137, it says that any building not exceed 30 meters or floors above 9 meters to be compartment floors. Floor 9 meter below need not be compartmented. So above 9 meter, every floors will be compartment floors. And then any building exceeding 30 meters, all floors to be compartment floors, including floors below 9 meters. So this need to be refreshed for all you guys. And openings between floors will be designed as atrium, in which is prescribed in the new bylaw 252A. So this atrium design. There's also, this is something similar to what we have in bylaw 137 before. So if the floor below the fire engine accessway, basement floor is less than 100 meter square, no compartment floor is required. So if it's in red, basically it is the line of compartmentation. So this doesn't require any compartment. While this one, where the areas is greater than 100 meters square, so meaning that the entire floor will be constructed as compartment floor. And we need to provide this. This is considered like atrium design. We need to compartment the basement floor as well. The ramp that goes up from one floor to the other. The other one will be bylaw 139, fire risk area. So we know electrical room, LPG room, all these need to be compartmented because they are high fire risk area. There is an addition to 1392. So for hospitals and nursery, purpose group 2, institutional, labs, and also kitchen, shall not have sleeping accommodation above them, and shall form separate compartment from inpatient treatment areas, public areas, cases. So it's just to make sure that we reduce the risk for the places where people are sleeping. So we go deeper. So we break a bit in terms to get some understanding, or in terms of party wall versus separation wall versus compartment wall understanding. So in bylaw 86, we're talking about party wall definition. So party wall is actually in legal context. It's basically the wall separating between two owners. So it can be terrace housing, yours and your neighbors. In between you have your party wall, or even the apartments, you and your neighbor, it is a party wall. But the application in terms of fire safety context is slightly different, in which a compartment wall, basically a wall that is separating one compartment to the other, while separating wall means a wall that is common to two adjoining buildings. So we will show in diagram later. So sample terrace house. So legally we call it party wall, and it is also a separating wall under fire safety context. So multi-story apartment, individual ownership, legal context, these are all party walls, but also compartment wall under fire safety context. So the two requirements actually have different, the two compartment and also the separating wall, compartment wall and separating wall, we have different requirements, fire safety, in the context of fire safety. Hope everyone understands that concept. Okay. The next one, 9 schedule, fire resistance for elements of structure. So basically it's just telling that elements of structure will require a minimum period of fire resistance. So it's in reference to UBBL 213, specified in 9 schedule. So this is quite generic. So the objective is to minimize the risk of occupants for evacuation process, containment for the spread of fire, to reduce the risk of firefighters, and also to reduce the danger of people next to the building. So element of structure, just a definition I think everyone knows. You just need to highlight that the roof structure is not part of the compartment, the element of structure. So I think some questions there that some people said, oh, even you're building a factory, the roof over need to be fire rated. Actually, no. Floors, external walls, separating walls, compartment walls, all this is included as element of structure. So gallery here, gallery means, in short, will be balcony. Another understanding that we need to know, different between fire resistance and reaction to fire. So if you have heard about class O, class 1, class 2, so that is actually in reference to reaction to fire. So here, you have a room, you have all these furnitures, the reaction of fire, whether it is a class O type or class 3. So this is one, and the other one is the fire resistance. So it has structural stability, prevention of fire spread from one compartment to the other. So the fire resistance is actually this element over here, that it prevents the spread of fire. So in UBBL 133 is under definitions. Fire resistance means that it has some factor in terms of insulation and also load bearing capacity and integrity. Just for information, the fire rating is measured in REI. R is the stability, the load bearing capacity of the material itself. E, integrity, the ability to resist flames and gas vapor from the other side, and also insulation, the ability to withhold the temperature. So this is why some of the reason why we have that insulated fire roll shutter, right? That is so expensive. The client is annoyed at us, like, oh, I need fire rated roll shutter here, and then they say, too expensive, can we not have it? So actually, this is with regards to the requirement of fire resistance. So we need to look into that. Okay, so I will use this diagram, and it will progress up to the determination of fire rating of each component. So we start off with this one building. One part of it is higher, lower. We have 3 levels of basement as a start. So the height of building is actually measured from the fire appliances access height. So it's from ground floor, or we call it FEA level. FEA level, this is the height of the building that is considered here. And then, too fast. And then we go further, we can see this building is high, this is low. We add in separation wall. Separation wall, earlier on, I mentioned is that it is separation between 2 buildings. So in a way that we are considering this part of the building and this part are 2 separate buildings. And below the fire engine accessway, the basements are considered as 1 building. Yeah. So yeah, we considered this as building A, the height of the building A, building B, height of the building B. Make sure you have this separation wall. So the requirements of building B and building A will be different based on time schedule. Building C, so even the basement car park is considered as building, so it's building C. So this is the height of building C. So this is how we we refer back to our 5th schedule later in terms of the limit of compartmentation. So we add on more spices. So this is a mixed-use development. So we have service apartment on top, we have offices below, retail at the bottom, the first 3 floors. And for the next building B, we have Cineplex, we have retail, 2 floors of retail. So, so this is remain as basement car park. So when we add different purpose group, in bylaw, okay. Oh. So in bylaw 138C, it says that once you have different purpose group, you need to compartment in between the two different compartments. So basically, service apartment, office need to have 1 compartment floor, retail and office 1 compartment floor. This one stays. Cineplex and retail 1 compartment floor. So that is, we are going through one by one. Actually, the result later will be different. It's just that we are going through the thought process of how we identify this, this building structural elements. And then, there are 2 conditions. This is the scenario 1, which the building is not exceeding 30 meters. So this is less than 30 meters. Any floors above 9 meters will be constructed as compartment floor. So this is the change that we have that I mentioned earlier. So 9 meters below, all the retails need not be compartment floors. Height of building B, because of the different compartmentation, different purpose group, between the Cineplex and the retail. So we will have a compartment floor here. So this is 1, and then the next one, scenario 2, in which the building exceeds 30 meters. So each floor will be constructed as compartment floor. So this is the different definitions, changes in bylaw 2021. And for building B, the height is less than 30 meters, even though it's adjoined, but we do have this separating wall, right? We consider as 2 buildings. So in a way that this building B is less than 30 meters. So less than 30 meters, we don't need to compartment each floor. So we only compartment in between the 2 different purpose group. I hope you're clear. And tambah lagi spices. So service apartment on top. Earlier on, we talked about the party wall. The party wall for apartments, it will be constructed as compartment wall. So it is in bylaw 138B. It says that you need to separate, you need to compartment each unit. So you can see here vertical lines, red lines, so meaning that each unit will have separate compartments. So now we have all the compartmentation work done. Especially the junior architects, please listen, please. Save your boss's backside lah. Okay, so building A. So building A, in a way that it's more than 28 meters in height. So when we refer to the 9 schedule, I don't know whether you guys refer to 9 schedule or not, but earlier on I never referred to 9 schedule, so now I know. So 9 schedule is a reference, we need to know what is the FRP of each compartment. So building A, more than 28 meters in height. So we got to know that the service apartment is 1.5 hours, shops 2 hours, offices 1.5 hours. So this is the minimum requirement. While building B is less than 15 meters, so only 1 hour fire rating requirement is required. And building C, which is the basement car park, will require 2 hours. So these are the requirement in terms of 9 schedule, the fire rating of each compartment layers. So when we design that, we just mentioned the apartment we have 1.5 hours, offices 1.5 hours, shops 2 hours. But need to remember, we need to consider the most stringent one. Oh. Huh, okay. So at the end, actually it is not that. We have to consider the most stringent one, which is building A, we have 2 hours FRP. Building B, 1 hour, both are the same anyway. And building C is only one purpose group, so it's 2 hours. So meaning that this determination of FRP need to follow the most stringent one, because it's mixed development. This has been covered by John earlier, in which I will just mention again. So materials and systems, so the structure elements will be protected by certain materials. So for example, concrete covers for reinforced concrete. So this is required, and it is shown in the 9 schedule. Intermason protection, so it is a reactive coating which expands in the heat exposure. So usually we use for steel structure, but it can be used for concrete timbers and other composites as well. Then we have drywall casting. This is fire-rated boards. We're all familiar with that. Vermiculite cement spray. So this actually also a spray. However, it gives cooling effect to the steel substrate. So it will delay its temperature rise. If you see earlier on, John showed us that steel got warped, right? So basically, we want to delay that process so that the structure of the building did not fail so easily. And also fire-resistant cables. So fire test and certification, we need to ensure that it's approved by CIRIM, QAS, CIRIM CAS, and also our own bomber lah. Okay, so we are going towards the end already. So we talk about the larger picture in which related to the purpose group, which is most important for any part of the fire safety protection. And then we go slightly deeper into the compartmentation concept. And then we go to the 9 schedule, the elements of structure itself, how to determine this. And then we look into the protection of the opening in compartments. Why we need this? It's functional purposes, so to facilitate the movement of people between 2 compartments, and also the installation of services, you know, all these pipes, your ventilation ducts, ACMV, things like that. And protection of opening is required to prevent the spread of fire and smoke. As we know, it's very dangerous. Smoke will kill you faster than fire. To provide time for safe evacuation, active and also active intervention lah. So this is one sample. So fire shutters or door will be used as opening, protective opening for compartments. So we have these 2. So we look into fire-rated roll shutters. I think fire-rated doors, nothing much lah. So fire-rated roll shutters, there are 3 types. So we do have the more familiar ones will be this vertical fire shutter. There's also this folding sliding FRS and also lateral and horizontal FRS. To be honest, I haven't seen this one. I would like to see one. So whoever doing malls, please just let me know if you are doing one. So I want to see. So these are 3 types of fire shutter. But there's also there's also 2 categories of fire roller shutter, which is insulated fire roll shutter and also uninsulated fire roll shutter. So these are the requirements of the insulated and uninsulated ones. So integrity, insulated ones need to be 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours for the uninsulated FRS. Standard will be based on the MS and BS standard. And applications used to protect openings in compartment, wall or floor. So types, the 3 types that we have seen earlier, horizontal, folding, sliding, and also lateral, horizontal. Fire shutters with integrity and insulation. So this is insulated fire roll shutter. May be used as compartment wall, except this one is very important. FCC, you cannot use fire roll shutter, protected lobbies, and also protected exit routes, including stairs and corridors. So no, this one we need to have walls, basically. Protection of an opening or doorway in a compartment wall or compartment floor. So yeah, that's quite straightforward. Insulated fire-rated roll shutter. So we have this as an opening from to open up compartment A to compartment B. This is compartment wall. So the other one would be to open up floor openings in compartment. So basically we have this fire-rated roll shutter that is enclosing the atrium. Protection of an opening in doorway, compartment wall, or compartment floor. So there is some leeways that because compartment wall, we will need insulated fire roll shutter. But if there is no intended fire load, I will give example later, we may not need the thermal insulation. So this can be exempted. So these are the three samples. So one, atrium area. So there's no intended fire load there. So we can have this as uninsulated fire roll shutter. This is for escalator voids, can be uninsulated, as well as driveways in basements or multi-story car parks. So these are the three that we can use uninsulated fire roll shutter. So there are certain requirements based on the bylaws in terms of separating walls. For example, diameter of combustible pipes less than 25 mm, diameter of non-combustible pipes less than 150 mm. So these are ductile iron and stuff. UPVC is considered as combustible pipes, so it cannot be more than 25 mm diameter. No fluid pipes allowed. Doors to have equal or greater FRP as with the element. So separating wall need to be the same fire rating properties as the compartment wall itself. So if you need 2 hours, then 2 hours. So 148, compartment wall and compartment floor and walls. So opening for protected shaft, ventilated duct with fire damper, that is the requirement, and also encased ducts to have FRP no less than half of the element. So basically they said encased duct will have half of the compartment wall requirement. Bylaw 150, protected shafts for pipes, ducts, entry, facilities, staircases, lifts. I show that in a diagram later. 156, ventilating duct in protected shaft. So we need fire dampers at appropriate intervals. So I show that in diagram. So this is just a concept for you guys to understand. So this is a compartment wall, so it requires the certain fire rating properties. And then this will be the 25 mm pipes. And this is the max 150 mm ductile iron pipes that can go through. So when these gone through the walls, the compartment walls, we need to have fire stop. So if these are, we call that ACMV ducting, so you will need to have a fire stop as well. So require FRP. As per FRP, so if this wall is 2 hours, so these elements need to be 2 hours as well. However, if we have ceilings, fire rated board, so this can actually be half of the required FRP. And you can omit this, the one that you have before, without the board, right? we need this as 2 hours, for example. So once we have the board, ceiling board, ceiling board, it will be half of the required FRP. So we can actually omit the fire stop there. Protected shaft. So this is slightly easier. I think we've done it a lot. So when we have pipes going through the compartment floors, so we do need the fire stop on each floor. And if we make it into a riser, so it will be half of the required FRP. So we don't need the fire stop within the riser room itself. So that's the, I think a lot of people knows about this concept. It's just to round out again. So apart from the pipes, ducts, sanitary facilities, we have to consider others as well. For example, staircases, lifts. These are considered as protected shafts. So protected shaft, staircase, PS1, PS2, lifts, and this is your M&E risers lah. So I think this one, most of people know about the protected lobbies and unprotected lobbies and the requirement of the insulated and non-insulated lift door requirements. So just revision to it. Scenario 1, passenger lifts opens to protected lobby. So basically, this will be as per required compartment requirement. So each one will have this same fire rating properties. And the door itself will be half of the FRP protecting structure. So basically when we have this protected lift lobby, this lift landing door will be less, will be half of the requirement of the fire. Say we need 2 hours or 4 hours, it will be only 2 hours, it will be half. Because we have this protected lift lobby. And also Bomber said, basically if you have this protected lift lobby, you can actually do away with the insulation. No need to be insulated fire lift door. Nope. I think it's towards the end. Lagi. Lagi. Okay, wait, tadi. 2 slides behind. Yes. Okay, so if your lifts opens up to protected lift lobby, so basically these walls will be the same as the compartment wall or floor requirement. And the doors, these lift landing doors will be required to be insulated. So because it's not protected within protected lobby. So this one, I think there was a circular that came out, I think a few years back, or at least 5 years back. So this thing we need to identify, we need to highlight in our bomber submission passive drawings to show that whether it is insulated or non-insulated. Otherwise, your drawings will be rejected, then you have to come back with a new drawing. So yeah, might as well save the hassle. Know now and highlight it in your drawings. So this is dumb waiter through compartment floor. So dumb waiter, we have this panel, right? So basically this dumb waiter door would be half of the FRP that is required. Scenario 1, so this is ventilation to lift shafts. So either you have 0.9 meter square ventilation on top of your lift shaft, or you can also have vented through with FRP ducting on top of your lift shaft. So these are the 2 options that we have for the ventilation of lift shafts. So protected shaft, we go back. So this is with regards to the mechanical ventilation in our building. So these are the ductings that goes up. We have this opening to the compartment wall. Next. So the fire stop will require half of the required FRP. Fire stop, or the opening. Next. Next. And also, if you have riser doors, it will also be half of the required FRP. So we have certain two scenarios in terms of the aircon duct. So aircon duct will require fire dampers, automatic fire dampers. So if you see, all the red lines are actually compartment wall and floors. So all the penetrations to the compartment walls and floors will require fire damper. So here will require fire damper. So when it got to here, right, this is a protected shaft. So from floor to floor, we don't need any fire damper. So scenario 2, so the smoke control ducting is made from the same FRP as the compartment wall. So meaning that this ducting, right, what John Cha has mentioned earlier, there are also ductings that is fire rated. So the fire rating of this ducting need to be the same as our compartment wall and floor. So if you see here, the ducting, right, it stops here. The red ducting stops here. And then the last compartment, you don't need to make it as fire rated ducting. So from here, right, we'll start with the we will start with the fire damper, and then it goes straight. And once it's in a protected shaft, we don't need to have a fire damper anymore. So the third compartment here is considered safe lah. So because it is protected by this fire damper here, the first one. So this is for you guys to understand and perhaps save some money so that we can beautify our buildings a bit more safe from M&E. So additional barriers. Oh, we are at the last slide. Yay. Okay, additional barriers between ventilating ducts and protected shaft to reduce the risk of fire spread lah. Because if you know, like flues, right? Basically, you are just making a chimney for fire to travel from floor to floor. So to reduce that, right, is better to have additional barriers between the duct to reduce the fire risk. So this is for information lah. Then that's about it. Thank you so much. Again, I would like to give credit to our team, fire working group people. I saw architect Chu Heng Hua earlier, so most of the slides were done by him. We do have some members here as well. I did different topic, but fortunately today I learned from them for the other topics as well. So hopefully you guys are not fainted. Everybody is still awake, right? Okay. So thank you so much. Today has been incredible turnout. We are surprised, 250 packs plus walk-ins today. Hopefully everyone learned something, and hopefully I can learn something from your questions later as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again for your valuable sharing, Architect ELLINA RAHMAN. So at this point, I would like to ask both our speakers, our guests for today, to please come back onto the stage so that we will conduct the Q&A. I wanted to ask you not to leave, but you quickly hurried off. All right, so anybody got any burning questions out there? Would anybody like to ignite any sort of fiery debate, any questions, any inquiries on today's topic? So please prepare yourselves as I get both our speakers to come, Mr. John and Ms. Architect ELLINA. Could you please come onto this? Please have a seat. Please have a seat. Please have a seat. Please have a seat. Mr. John, is he here? Mr. John, are you in the house? Oh, would anybody else like to take his place? Does anybody have an EV car that they want to talk about? Okay, I think we can start with the Q&A. So, Mr. Zaidi, I think I saw you first. Architect Zaidi, sorry, I saw you first. So, by all means, sir. Of course, please introduce yourself and where you're from. Who's your favorite Star Wars character and all that. And we can get started with the questions.
My favorite Star Wars character is Darth Vader. So,
And we love you for that.
okay, question is to AR ELLINA RAHMAN. I'm from ACES Architect, director of ACES Architect. I've got a question for you. This is regarding atrium and shaft. Okay, so the question to you is, if the building is above 9 meter, but below 30 meter, and we decide to go for an atrium, right? But the atrium is not fully covered, but has got natural ventilation at the top. Do we still require a roller shutter, fire roller shutters? Because this is something which I had an argument with Bomba. They insisted that we should still have a roller shutters, and I said, no, you don't need to, because it's a naturally ventilated atrium. But they insisted that you needed that because they says that you have to refer to another clause, which is actually a shaft clause, which is really confusing. So I just need some clarification from you. Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Above 9 meter, below 30 meter.
Above 9 meter, below 30 meter.
Which is actually exactly 16 meter lah.
Correct. But we need to ensure that the MNEs really need to clarify that the smoke can be discharged out, and the clearances will be more than 2 meters height. So the issue, the fire shutter is actually along the
atrium wall, yeah, along the atrium opening.
Yep.
So there was what the bomba requires, because it says an atrium, but I said because it has got an opening at the top, so because it's naturally ventilated atrium, I said we don't actually need it, but they insisted that we should have it. So I'm just wondering what's your opinion about this.
I need to get my notes in terms of the fire. There is a atrium bylaws, right?
Yeah, correct.
For
yes.
that, I think I need a bit of time. Can I just process a bit?
Sure. Okay. See, well, you're confused, right? I'm
When you
even more confused.
So when you say naturally ventilated atrium, there's basically no covering above the opening,
No,
right?
meaning that there is, of course, the top has to cover or else the rain will come in.
Right.
But the side, meaning that it's actually is a louvered side.
I see. Okay.
It's a louvered side, so that means there's a
For
natural,
ventilation?
Yeah, like for ventilation purpose.
I see.
So if
they're
that's the
asking-
case, I don't think you need a roller shutter for that actually.
So you're basically saying, because your atrium is already covered by the walls on the sides, right?
No, the atrium is atrium lah. But then we insisted we don't need to have a shutter to cover the opening of the atrium.
I see.
Yeah, but
I thought because
Yeah.
it's a bit difficult to visualize, but because there was a lateral, the horizontal shutters, that she was talking about just now. I thought the Bomba was insisting on something for that.
I'm talking about the vertical shutters to cover the entire atrium.
Right. Okay.
Understand this one is related to, but the 2.5. Okay, perhaps we will entertain another question while I.
This is going to be like a study group already, I think. So all of you take out your notes. I suspect that maybe one of the audience members is wondering whether the slides they can get from you or not. Can you email or WhatsApp or something? I suspect someone is probably asking.
Oh wow, okay.
I suspect
Basically, we can share in the PAM website. So later a PDF version.
I'm sure some of you are wondering. Those who are seeking for part 3 especially, the exam soon. Can we get the slides?
Ala, it's the same one lah.
No it's typically Malaysian. They want everything, If you can get something, why not? Okay, can we have since we have to do some sort of thesis on that first question, can we get a second question that maybe doesn't require a thesis to be prepared? Okay, we have a second question? Yes. Okay, so this lady is asking that last year there was a seminar and the question posed was when was the red book coming out. So I guess it still doesn't come out, otherwise she won't be asking again. So
Actually,
any idea when it's coming out?
We are waiting clearance clearances from Bomba, it has been very true lah, because it was ready during the MCO time. During the MCO for that 2 years, right? We worked diligently to update that. So yeah, we are just waiting a green light. It will be used also for the training, Bomba training as well. Then it will be made into. I don't think it will be within this year, to be honest lah. Yeah, because
the
we've
first
been
MCO
waiting
was
for 2 years already.
March 2020, the first MCO. You mean
Yeah.
since March 2020?
No, actually we work on it during
Uh-huh.
2020 to 2021.
Right,
for 2
okay.
years. Yeah, so that we are waiting for 1 year already from Bomba yet to get the clearance.
I think you can probably ask the same question next year as well. Can we have more questions from the audience? Nobody wants to ask anything about EVs. I'm kind of surprised actually, Tesla and BYD, nobody wants to ask anything about those cars. I'm sure some of you have people who know, who have those cars, right? BYD and Tesla, I'm sure Tesla especially. Tesla is becoming very common. Last time I want to see once a week or once a month or so was rare. Now you can see 2 or 3 a day, sometimes in a convoy. So yeah, I'm sure you have questions, sir. Anybody else?
So coming back to, because
okay,
the
I
atrium
need-
part just now, right? It's just that we look into that, and there is a certain dimension of the atrium that is required. So minimum, I think, minimum is 6 meter depth. So if you can't comply to that, you don't have enough, space or volume to gather the smoke up. So there is a specific in clause bylaw 252A that tells you about the minimum requirement dimension of it. So if you can meet that, supposedly not an issue, but the building also have to be sprinkled. So those are the requirements. Yeah. I can't remember details. I need to just jog
No,
my
no,
memory.
it's fair, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's only fair. In fact, it's probably impossible for you to remember all the details. We definitely have to refer. I mean, I'm sure you have other questions. Both of you have gone to, say, Balai to get questions, and there's always arguments. No one has ever had any issue with Bomba. None of you have any arguments with the officer, ni tak boleh, tu tak boleh, and all that. Please, come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay? Okay, my own boss has argued before, come on, in our previous firms and all that. So I'm sure there are questions that you would want to ask. Okay, looks like everybody here is super fire compliant. Everyone knows Bomba pretty well.
This is regarding the EV. Okay, so now you're right. A lot of developers are asking for us to put EV in the car park. I say it's not that easy because there are actually apparently, according to what we know, it's only one company in Malaysia that is allowed to install EV.
You mean the
correct?
charging port, is it?
No, apparently to install an EV, you actually have to engage with TNB.
Yep. You
Correct,
need
right?
to get this.
You had to get a certification from TNB.
Yeah.
Of course, apart from Bomba certification and all the compliance to the EV requirement, you actually will need a certification from Bomba. But apparently, it's only one company in Malaysia that actually has got that legal rights to install EV. Okay, that's number one. Number two is how do you charge the electricity to the tenants? So that was the biggest problem because, say for instance, you have 100 tenants, 100 occupants, and then maybe a few of them actually have got EV. So the car may be hogging all the electricity for the podium car park for the whole night, right? And how do you charge that guy? So apparently there is a rule for you to actually to charge the electricity, and it's only applied if it's only legal if you actually got a consent from TNB, as well as you have to get consent from DJMB. So the regulation is not no more than just a Bomba requirement, but it's also a legal requirement as well as with the tenaga. Am I correct to say that?
Yeah, there's a lot of complication actually.
Yeah.
If I may answer some of it, I'm one of the PAM rep for the EV charging matters in which we have discussed with Plan Malaysia and government sectors, and even MIDA was involved as well, radar. And basically ST will be giving the approval for the installers. So I don't think it's just one, it will be a few. There's some conditions, whether it's AC or DC charging points, in which you need direct DC for the faster charging. So currently, the one that is allowed is only AC. And if you have 1,000 unit, but you have 1,000 units, say 5%, you have 500 cars, right? 500. Oh, I cannot count already. So, so basically, even you have 20 cars in the service apartment, one car will require how many hours already? So how to charge, right? So those are still being debated. Plan Malaysia would also want to push to have more EV car parks, but the bomber actually have issues on how to actually address the toxic waste from the EV, a battery, in the case of fire, and how to control the fire spread. Because during that time, they asked architects what we can do. I would say easily put all the EV charging outside of our building, if we can.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, because you don't want the fire to be spread across the building. So if you have more EV charging, the other one will be like the entire floor will be EV for EV purpose. So you compartment the entire floor. So meaning that it will be a complication to strata, right? Because how can someone buy a unit now to know that he will be having EV car park later? So those are really complicated. So I think this one is still being debated.
So
And
it's
in
not so straightforward. So I think architects have to be careful.
Yeah.
Promising developer to put EV chargers in their car park because it's not so straightforward.
Correct. And actually, basement, right? Bomber does not encourage to have basement EV charging car parks because that is the highest risk. And how to save, how to escape even with the smoke containment and all. So, and from your EV cars, right, it will spread to another petrol car, and then there's a huge bomb there.
Chain reaction.
Yeah, and all the EV chargers in Pavilion and KLCC all don't comply one, you know. Yeah, you know that, right?
They don't comply.
No. One of the compliance is that you cannot have a car park next to a EV charger.
Right.
Yeah,
I
because
think
of
you
the
see most of them are basically right in the middle or
they
near the
just
entrances.
plonk
And,
in there one.
you know?
Okay,
It's a
there is
VIP
another question, last one lah.
Oh, it's okay. Ask another one after this, so no problem.
Okay, because all these are new stuff that coming in. That's why I have to
That's
ask you a
true,
question,
yes.
right? Okay, so now remember in those days they used to have like a rubbish chute
Yes.
from like top to bottom, and then people start throwing babies and all that inside the chute.
Ouch. Okay.
And then after that, Bomba said no. But recently, start coming back, right? It start coming back, and they have this thing called ACWS, which is actually it's like a automated rubbish chute, which is very popular now. Where you like, for instance, level 20, you just throw your rubbish with a suction vacuum, will take you all the way to the refuse center, right? So that's very popular now with all developers. So the question is that some Bomba says that you need to have a sprinkler inside the chute. Some say no need. So what is your opinion about that? Okay, lah.
Sprinkler inside the chute.
Because they were saying that somebody may throw fire inside the chute and then it may burst into flame. So therefore there should be a sprinkler on the top of the chute in order to...
But if it's 20 meters high, then is the water gonna...
At every floor.
Every floor?
Yeah.
Oh,
At
the wall then?
Yeah. So, have you experienced this before?
No, I have not done that.
Yeah.
So, but if on the wall, perhaps it's okay, but on the floor, on the ceiling, perhaps no lah, because the water will the water will evaporate immediately.
It'll dissipate quickly, yeah.
Yeah.
Being practiced overseas. Oh, okay. It's interesting. Huh? I don't have much experience with EV chargers. I mean, the developers towards the end of the project will just say, can I get the M&E guy to put 2 charging stations for each house? Huh? So now the M&E has to go back and start crying, wondering how he's going to do it. That's the only experience I've had so far. So, like everyone has said, it's really new. No one really knows what's going on. In fact, that strata issue that brought up just now, if you have an entire floor dedicated to EV parking, Then what about strata later on? Because how are we going to know whether we're going to buy an EV car later?
Yeah,
Good point.
that's the thing.
So many interesting questions, legal and otherwise. Yes, okay, thank you for wearing red today. Please introduce yourself and where you're from.
So my name is V from Architect Prima. So basically for the EV, right, since the guideline was given by Plan Malaysia and Bomba, since last year actually I've been asking this question to DBKL and also Bomba Putrajaya. So to answer to Architect ID, for basically my project is high rise and my developer actually advertise it as EV ready, which means
EV ready.
every purchaser will be able to install EV on the car park lot. So my client just recently, they had this REHA talk by REHA lah. So, and also talked to the R&D planning DO at DBKL. So basically, there's two questions. Submission for EV charger for Persendirian and also the visitor car park bay.
I'm sorry, you need to ask a question to them.
Yes. I mean for both of them.
You're not looking at me, so I'm kind of scared
Okay.
you're asking me.
No. So what I found out that if let's say it's individual use EV charger, for KM and Bomba or BP, they say that there's no submission required. But if let's say for visitor, because they tend to use for commercial purpose, means there is a licensing to actually charge people to use the EV, then there is a need to submit to Bomba and KM and also BP. But yesterday I also just found out that Rehab just posted that for visitor, which is a grey area which we still don't know, do not need to submit.
The last meeting, which was ended quite awkwardly because Bomba will require submission. But after some consideration, we were not included during that time. It says that no need to submit.
Even if they want to charge, means people will need to pay to use. Basically, there's a gateway. What it means, there's a gateway for the EV charger that people will use to pay. That one also don't need to submit.
Outside of the building, yes. I can't remember. I remember internally, you don't have to. Yeah, but there is an ongoing debate.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
there also next question. There's two. When you look into the planning guideline by the EVCB, there will be Sedia Ada and also Baharu. So what we know is that, let's say our submission BP is that is done before the planning guideline given, they take it, even if it's in construction, they take it as Sedia Ada.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So if let's say if Sedia Ada, if you use AC, there's no issue. But in the planning guideline, there's one part. DC, you need to have multi-sensors like heat and smoke detectors and also sprinkler and etc. But Sedia Ada, they just said, put that is in accordance to the UBBL. So in accordance to UBBL means we need to provide what items.
Meaning silent lah.
Yeah.
Meaning whatever that is required for the building, that disregarding the EV.
Because my developer also asked us, so do we just need to install smoke detector or etc. But it was no.
But if you look into the UBBL, right, it's a minimum prescription. But if you think that it is necessary, in which we thought that it is necessary to have smoke detectors, we should. If we needed sprinkler, we should put in. Because
Yep.
we need to take care of the safety of the occupants, right?
Yes.
I think it's already a requirement, like she said.
Yeah.
You know, depending on the building itself, no doubt.
Yeah.
Because if let's say that is question is to the visitors only. Like the question is, if let's say the purchasers lot, we do not know which purchaser will start to install the EV,
Yeah.
make the car park into
Correct.
EV. Assuming if 1,000 suddenly say they want to install, then do we need to provide all 1,000?
Oh, the guy might have an EV car now, but he says he's not really interested. He might sell it off. What happens to the car park then?
Yeah, that's also our queries lah.
So it's still unresolved. It's still ongoing issues at this point lah. Yeah.
These kind of
At one
questions.
point we were asked, actually architects were asked to sign off to say that everything is compliant and the EV charges are safe. So I think on PAM during that time we said no lah. It depends on. We can't really actually endorse on those things, especially when it gets to M&E provisions. So all those are still being discussed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then in terms of the submission, for example, for just pure high-rise, we talk about high-rise residents. If let's say the purchaser would want to install their EV, they actually need to apply or get the consent from GMB. which later on they need to get an clearance from ST. But there's also one checklist. They required a PSP to sign. What we found out that there is a logo by Lam
Oh.
in the checklist. So do we need to declare?
They asked us to do that lah, but I don't think it was an agreement to. I
Yeah.
think that one is still being discussed. To be
Because my
honest.
project is going to be completed by next year and we want it to be EV. So there's no,
Yeah,
no
there's
proper,
no
it's still
conclusion
grey.
yet, right?
I
Yeah.
don't know, man.
And
Questions like this, I think I have to ask Elon Musk only. I think they might be able to help.
so that's why we hope there's conclusion by both parties lah.
Ongoing. That's the best I think we can say.
Okay, thank you.
Anything you want to add?
All right.
Based on my understanding on the guidelines that issued by Bomba last year, right, I think they have a clause stating that it's for commercial, it's not for residential yet, right? So I believe it's still inconclusive on the guide itself. So I think they are in the plans of covering all these aspects as well. Because they also mentioned about the DC fast charger. They are focusing on DC fast charger, not really on the AC actually. So AC that poses a little bit risk compared to the DC charger. So in the clause itself, I still recall that they also highlighted if you have a DC fast charger, right, it's actually on the utmost you can go is level 1 of your basement. You cannot go further down, right? So, but the question raised by the gentleman just now, I think is basically more on the residential base, which is not really covered on that guideline yet, right? So, other than that, I think there's still a lot of open questions, right? Because it's like we are talking about a few chargers now, right? So as just now, as my talk said that in 5 years later, maybe 80% of us are driving EVs already. So all of us also want to own EV chargers in a car park. So then what will actually happen? But I think residential, most of the car parks, you guys architects design normally is above the ground, right? Not underground, unless those very in the KL city center, maybe there is, right? So, but out of KL, I think mostly is above car park. There's not much of a big concern, but our concern is definitely the underground car parks, right? So, I also read some reports, some countries, I think they suggested they totally ban, right? If you want to charge your car, please charge outside. Solve all the fire issues, totally.
I think that's probably the most viable solution at the moment, at least for the time being, until we figure it out. Okay, I think in the interest of time, perhaps one more question and then we can wrap it up. But before you go, there's a special surprise, so don't just leave yet. We're going to have a fire demonstration. No, I'm just joking. The Abang Bomba is going to come in and show us how to put out a fire. One more question and then we go on to a special surprise. Can we have a last question? Actually, I was going to ask you, we have EV cars. What about EV bikes? Do we have, jokes aside, because I wouldn't mind an EV bike.
EV bikes actually, I think is very, very popular in China.
Uh-huh.
But I think over here, the JPJ don't allow you to ride your EV bikes out of your taman, something like that,
Alamak.
right? So I think it become not so popular.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, and we need to wait for that. But of course, EV bikes, there's a lot of problems as well, right? So I think in China, there's a lot of fire because of these EV bikes.
I see. I'm more into bikes than cars, so I was wondering. But yeah, I can understand the whole silent car. When I was in China, I went for the Expo 2010, Shanghai. Even the buses, you cannot hear them, Forget about cars, even buses you cannot hear. So when you cross the road and you're only looking at one side of the road, kind of left, out of nowhere, the bus just comes about 5 feet of you, then only they start horning.
Yeah.
And that's a bus 20 years ago, back in 2010. Okay, yes, one last
Sorry,
question.
just one last question for me. My name is Kekokwa from a developer side. Actually, I want to ask is, from what I understand from the PAM Malaysia for the EV car park, what we need to submit is just we declare we will provide the EV car park bay, but we no need to provide the charging port. Then in this way, when we submit for the Bomba, do we need to submit the 1.5 meter barrier wall? I mean the compartmentation part, do we need to submit in? Or actually, it's supposed to be the people when they really want to put in the charging port, then only they construct the barrier wall. And the second question is also, for the EV car park, we need to install until the isolator, what I understand the minimum requirements. So go back to just now the gentleman said regarding the heater and also the sprinkler. Do we need to, as a developer, do we need to install that at this current stage, or actually eventually go back to the purchaser or the user when they install the charging port, then they only need to imply or install those active bomba system? Thank you.
Okay, sorry. I think what you do is you summarize the first question, and then you're asking whom, and then after the first question is answered, you can summarize the second one. Okay, just give us the first question in summary. Okay. All right. Okay. So we start with the barrier wall question.
Yeah, barrier wall 1.5 meter. That is definitely in the guideline basically. So you have to submit it because otherwise is certain criteria you need the 1.5 meter, right? But if let's say your chargers is hooked onto the existing wall, I think that defeat you don't have to purposely build 1.5 meter. So, but your plan is you already have a plan wanted to have this in place. So it's a matter of who will submit this. It's a gray area, right? Yeah. Maybe my personal opinion, if let's say because all this guy is draft like not really complete yet, I think is maybe you can get away with it without submitting it yet until you really need to install it. The next person have to still submit it at the end. So it depends who. I don't know. That's ELLINA.
I guess the person who initiates, I would think it's the one, right? I mean, to at least start the process.
It's just that, May the 4th be with you. So if we are safe, right, developers are maybe Jedi lah. Okay.
Wow.
Anyway.
Things the other way around, actually.
So we understand, basically you want to save the space, right? But if you have EV charging, if I'm not mistaken, you need to have a larger clearances. So it's a space requirement as well. So imagine if you don't provide the spaces now, right? I mean the additional provisions that you can add, the walls and stuff, I think that one is easily remedied by someone sign up for EV charging that you can put on. But in terms of space, are you going to provide the space that is required for EV charging? So I think that has to be addressed by the architects and whoever. In my opinion, you should provide the space. But perhaps the fire suppression system can be waiting.
And your second question in summary? Okay. So the extent of the amount of work that, okay. Okay.
In my view is that if we submit, whatever that we submit during BP, right, when it's completed, when we sign our CCC, it has to be whatever there is lah. If there's no EV charger, meaning there is no requirement to comply. However, the space need to be provided for lah. So in terms of that, need to be formalized later once you have EV charger. So that is my opinion in terms of this lah.
Well, just to end it off, is there a particular date that everybody is looking at to see, let's get this issue settled once and for all? Have they set a deadline? No, no one so far.
Not that we know of.
Okay. All right, thank you so much.